could be the day that they tie the Mets for the worst record in the modern era. Thanks, Max. I appreciate me on.
I've been wanting to have you on the show for a while. You play a big influence in my baseball fandom, and you taught me everything I know about the game. So I've been waiting for the right time and trying to set everything up. Sorry for all the craziness this morning trying to figure the
No problem.
What got you into baseball? What made you love the sport out of all the other sports that could have been out there you could have played?
Well, I'm lucky. I grew up in Chicago, where we have two teams, and we had WGN. So the Cubs games were on every day. When I would get home from school, the game would be on. It was great. It was daytime, and I was surrounded in my family, my dad, my grandfather, big baseball fans. And so it was an easy path to follow.
So did you grow up Cubs or White Sox, or did you just start from Cubs and transfer over to White Sox?
Well, I'm a baseball fan, Max. And here in Chicago, there's this notion that, you're either one or the other. And
yeah.
When I was a kid, my dad was a Cubs fan. My grandfather was a Sox fan. And I have to say, because of the Cubs games, being on television, players like Ernie Banks, Billy Williams, Ron Santo, all that group of guys in the 60s, I would say I was definitely a Cubs fan. I was a Cubs fan, and I really didn't think about the White Sox very much. We were on the north side. I don't know if you know about north side, south side.
Yeah, I do.
We lived on the north side. We didn't go to a lot of games, but if we did go to a game, I think it was mostly Cubs. I remember going to Cubs games.
Is there, growing up, were there a specific player that you wanted to watch more than others, like Dred Madden or Catfish Hunter or?
Oh, for sure. When I was really young, I already knew that I wanted to pitch. And so pitchers were the guys that I was most interested in. And, I was really lucky. Bob Gibson, Sandy Koufax, Don Drysdale, like you say, Catfish Hunter. The A's had a great staff. The Orioles had a great staff. Cuellar, Palmer, McGregor. There were a lot of really good pitchers. The White Sox had a guy, Joe Horland, and they had Gary Peters. So the local guys for sure, and then some of the national guys really caught my attention, especially Fergie Jenkins, and Bob Gibson, two of my big favorites.
Well, so I hear you like the new White Sox logo more than the past Kent one. What stands out with this logo that they currently have right now than all the other ones?
Oh, the White Sox logo?
Yeah.
Well, they got a lot of them, and they kind of recirculate them. On different days of the year, when you go out to the park, they could be wearing a uniform from the Go-Go White Sox all the way to the early 1900s.
Right, my favorite.
The logo is iconic, and you see it people around the world wearing the White Sox hat with
Yeah.
the classic SOX on angle in the old script. I think it catches a lot of people's attention. At the same time, as you can see, I'm a hat guy. I don't wear a hat.
Yeah.
Unless I'm playing baseball, I'm not going to have a baseball hat on. But
I rarely saw you wearing a hat throughout my childhood.
I own a lot of baseball hats, but I just don't wear them. I have a collection. You know, who would want to cover up this face in any way?
I hear you. I have a hat collection too, but I don't wear them all the time. But it's nice to have on hand. We all know that the White Sox are probably like one of the worst teams in the league right now. What would be, you'd like to see happen with the White Sox? Have you been watching them? How you feel about them? I know it's kind of a loaded question.
Well, I think today could be the day that they tie the Mets for the worst record in the modern era, and it looks like most certainly they're going to set the record. They may even set the record for the worst winning percentage in the history of the game, going back all the way back.
Yeah.
What would I like to see the White Sox do? I'd like to see them catch magic in a bottle, because I don't think that there's a formula to have a good baseball team, or at least not a championship baseball team. A good baseball team, you could pretty much guarantee it by spending money. A good baseball team, you can pretty much guarantee it by having a good front office that understands player development, player analysis for drafting, for picking up free agents, and the White Sox don't have that. They don't have a good front office, and the owner has declared he's going to spend a lot of money. So, all you got for the Sox is hope, and not much of that really. Like next year, they're not lose 100 games again, and drastically affects the people that come out to watch the games. It's terrible. It is terrible what's going on with the White Sox. They are definitely the worst team in baseball by far, and don't even have a star player that is worth going out there to watch. Maybe Derek Crochet, but right now, at the end of the season, he's on a pitch count. Maybe Robert, but honestly, he certainly hasn't lived up to his potential.
Yeah.
So there's not much to be really interested in with the White Sox.
Yeah, they're becoming a team where it's like it's not much to see out there. I remember catching one time what's going on with the White Sox, because they didn't look like they could do anything from running, pitching to hitting, and it's like, what am I watching here?
Well, as you know, I was a Cubs fan, and definitely am now much more of a Sox fan for the last 25 years or so. I got tired of the Cubs breaking my heart year after year, going back all the way to '69 with the collapse and Miracle Mets, 84, 89, 98, 2003. I got it all memorized. Nothing but heartbreak. The team was terrible, but they had a lot of players that you could get behind. Ryan Sandberg type of guy who, even though the team wasn't good, there were players that were really good and that people liked, like Mark Grace. I mean, Greg Maddux pitched for the Cubs. Sammy Sosa, honestly, big fan of Sammy. I don't even think about all of the negative stuff that surrounds that. I remember listening to the home run derby up by your house there in Wisconsin between him and Mark McGuire on a transistor radio that I was holding up in the air because you couldn't get any reception. The day that one of them hit 60 home runs and they were racing to get to 62. So after, really putting the Cubs in my past, now the White Sox are doing the same thing to me, just breaking my heart. I mean, obviously the Cubs never lost 120 games. And now, I guess maybe that's just payback for me switching my allegiance.
I don't know about that. I mean, it is hard to watch. I mean, I got players, like I like Lewis Roberts, but seeing the team, the way they play, it's just hard to watch. Do you like the new GM? What do you think, they could do as manager? Who do you have in mind as a manager? You have anyone?
Well, as we all know, the manager doesn't stand in the batter's box. The manager is out on the pitcher's mound.
Yep.
So would the manager make a difference? I go back to when the Sox had a competitive team and their manager was a guy named Ricky Renteria. And they decided that what they needed to do was have a better manager. Even though he had obviously good chemistry with the team was successful, they wanted to go from point A to point B. They said that. We want to go from point A to point B. And so they followed the lead of the Cubs, because the Cubs had Ricky Renteria before they competed for championships. And they got rid of him. I thought to myself, so if Ricky Renteria was a good manager on the Cubs and Ricky Renteria is a good manager on the White Sox, why are they getting rid of him? So
I felt bad for him the way he got kicked off the Cubs, and then,
some brainiac decided that Tony La Russa should be exhumed and brought back to manage the White Sox. If Tony La Russa couldn't do something good with that team, I don't see how Joe Girardi or any of these suggested names that they have from successful managers are going to help what really amounts to a AAA ball club. They don't have any players. They just don't have any players. And you're not going to get 10 good players in a year or even 2 years. They traded away the players that they had that I don't think were even good, the ones they traded. And they didn't get really prospects back that are going to help them from what I can see. The White Sox are a lost cause.
Yeah, I mean, would you say that possibility moving maybe back to player management? Or like I know there were talk before about Paul Konerko and Jose Abreu, I think.
Jose Abreu.
Yeah, that were in talk of maybe being a manager at the time, back like, I'm not quite sure how many years ago, but I remember hearing Jose Abreu in the manager.
No, I think Jose Abreu would have been a good player manager. I had thought about that at the time. I didn't realize how close to the end of his career he was, his playing career. In this modern age, it's very important to have a manager that can reach across the various cultures in baseball. And I think Jose Abreu was a good, like Ozzie. Ozzie was able to communicate well with the players, to communicate very well with the players. Not that I'm suggesting Ozzie is a manager. I don't think they should bring him back. I think his time is come and gone. If I could think of a single guy, honestly, I still would like to see Jose Abreu get a chance at managing a baseball team, but I I think I would prefer somebody with experience who um, understands how to build a winning culture, how to use a pitching staff, because pitching is so different
Mm-hmm.
than it was even 10 years ago. I don't know. It'd just be a crapshoot. Whoever you pick is not going to be successful immediately. They're going to need time, 3 to 5 years. The White Sox are not likely to be a contending team for between 3 and 5 years.
I mean, maybe a Jose Abreu right now, he's not doing anything. He's just sitting at home. He's been released from
I think
Houston.
Jose is in the independent league. I think Jose would like to come back and play
Yeah.
Major League Baseball again.
Yeah, I know he got released from Houston. I kind of
Yeah.
felt bad for him, but
well, he had lost a step. His bat speed was really diminished. Like I say, a first-year manager. We just got Pedro Bafral was a first-year manager. We got a brand new general manager with Chris Getz.
How do you feel about Chris Getz? Like, I like him as a player, but as a manager, I don't know. I feel like a lot of teams are now trying to go for the Texas Ranger Chris Young way now. Like, well, Chris Young was a player. Let's see if that works now.
I think that your front office should be made up of highly educated individuals from outside of baseball. I don't think that baseball is a game to be run by the players from top to bottom. I think that you need to know how to run a business. You need to understand the economics. You need to understand the analytics. I think moving a player into the front office is archaic. I think that it shouldn't happen anymore.
What do you say? Because they're still kind of stuck in the player's mindset and they can't get into the business mindset? Cause
I think they don't have the education and the training. You look at Theo Epstein, and you realize like he didn't play baseball.
mm-hmm.
There's a number of successful general managers that were never ball players. They went to school at MIT.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes. Baseball team is a multi-billion-dollar organization.
Yep.
And to have some guy that didn't study in high school because he was busy playing baseball doesn't make any sense to me.
I know I'm going to throw a curveball, you Uncle Frank, but I always thought this was a fun debate that you and I had about Dustin Baker and Tony DeLucia. What's your thought on Dustin Baker and Tony DeLucia? I know you like Dustin Baker, but you don't like Tony DeLucia. You were
I like
talking
Dusty
about
a lot.
Hmm?
I like Dusty a lot.
I was not a big fan. So me growing up as a Cubs fan, I'm like, man, Dustin's hurting me, But what's your thought on him?
Well, Dusty was a pretty good player in his time, so it kind of goes against what I'm saying. As far as now, a regular field manager, it's good if they have playing experience. Obviously, catchers usually make the best managers. Dusty Baker, it's political, Max, and I don't like to really bring politics into baseball,
Mm-hmm.
but I felt like, like most sports, minorities don't get an opportunity to be in positions of authority. And I think that was a part of what I liked about Dusty Baker was that he was able to put up with a lot of the garbage that was thrown his way and still be successful. He was definitely a player's manager as well. The players liked playing for Dusty. They'd give everything they could for Dusty. And as much as I like Dusty, he wore out a lot of pitchers. He wore out their arms.
Yeah, that's the thing I didn't like about him.
He had to have had some responsibility in the diminished career of Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor.
Yep.
Man, he just rode those guys. He just rode them. And then he went to where was he at? Cincinnati.
I think so. Yeah, he was there for a while.
He did the same thing
with Chapman.
Johnny Cueto. I mean, he's very old school, and I like that attitude. But you can overdo it. You can't leave a guy out there for 130, 140 pitches. And Dusty would leave him out there.
Yeah, I mean, I always say, like, as a fan, yeah, I wouldn't mind talking to him. But as a player, I don't think I would want to play for him. But,
Sure.
I never heard, players say they like him a lot to play for him. But then again, he was managing the Houston Astros, and they seem to like him over there.
So is it okay if I ask you a question, or is this one way?
Go ahead.
So this year, what team are you rooting for?
So I made my prediction, I think, before the season started. And I haven't looked at it since. I'll probably open it up. My brother-in-law just told me it last night when we were on the phone. And I'm like, that's fine. You can tell me, but I'm not looking at it. I'm not looking at it until October. So I'll pull it out again. The team that I picked to go all the way is Baltimore Orioles. They look pretty good so far, but now they kind of fall down to second place. That looks like they may get a wild card possibility if they don't fall down anymore. But, from what I've seen of the team, they seem like they have a solid team chemistry, good infield, good pitching, and the way they were playing last year, I'm like, I would not be surprised if they came back and go all the way, So that's the team I picked. Who did you pick?
Well, I didn't have any preseason picks this year. I don't know what was going. Well, you know what it was. Rigel was playing, and I was traveling to watch him. I wasn't paying that much attention to Major League Baseball. After the White Sox season last year, which was very bad too, we forget that, but oh my God, they were terrible last year. And some of the things that have happened in Major League Baseball in the last 15 years have kind of diminished my interest in the game. I wish I could say I love the game as much as I did, but it's changed in ways that don't appeal to me. I think the White Sox being so bad is a big part of that. I think that if the White Sox were good at hitting home runs and their pitchers were striking everybody out and the White Sox were getting a lot of walks, the three true outcomes in baseball, I would probably like the game a lot more because my team was successful. But anyway, I have been trying because the playoffs are coming. I have been trying, and a very close friend of mine is a Mets fan.
Yep, I remember. I met him.
You met him. We went to the game together, didn't we? Yeah, we went to the Cubs Mets game.
Yep.
And even though I'm not a Cubs fan anymore, I still hate the Mets. Back to '69. I hate the Mets. But I love this guy. He's a good friend. and he's so excited. His team is like really close to making it to the playoffs. So don't tell him, but I'm actually rooting for the Mets right now.
I don't know
want to admit
anything, but
I
would love to interview him. That would be great. He
would definitely come on. He loves baseball. He's a good baseball fan. Seth is terrific.
But yeah, the Mets are doing well. I think I picked them last time. They didn't go all the way to it, but you were talking about that you didn't really like the changes that have been going on in baseball. What are some of the things that you don't like and some of the things you do like? Or is there anything you would want to change?
Well, I would say that using analytical data from the past and thinking it's an accurate predictor of what's going to happen in the future is not, from my vantage point, always going to be a successful strategy. Now, I grew up in an era, let's just say, baseball was a game of numbers. Baseball has always been a game of numbers.
Yep.
And I think the first thing that bugged me was when they started to disparage the stat they now call a pitcher win. How many wins a pitcher gets. And they use other statistics to determine who the successful pitchers are. But I was looking at that kind of data where they used advanced metrics, if you will, even just something as simple as WAR, the WAR statistic. And all of the leaders in WAR, the WAR statistic, are the same pitchers that are the leaders in wins. So why do we want to say, no, you can't use wins as an indicator of who the greatest pitchers ever were? You need to use this other stat when the other stat shows that wins are actually an important statistic. I would like to think that hits, a base hit, a double, a triple, the most exciting thing in the game, the triple.
And they're very hard to do.
Yeah. Would be an indicator of a player's value, but not anymore. Not anymore. A hit is almost a negative thing in modern day analysis of baseball, because unless it's a home run, you need more than one hit to score a run most of the time. Maybe even 3 hits to score 1 run. So all of the coaching is geared towards the players hitting home runs, because a home run will produce a run for sure. So there's no reason to try to get any other kind of hit except for a home run. Well, that's fine. Everybody loves the home run. It's a great experience to watch the guys stand there and look at it and flip the bat up in the air. I'm a dinosaur. Flip the bat up in the air and have the ball hit 3/4 of the way up the wall and find out that he should have been running, but he was watching it. And now instead of getting a double or a triple, he's standing at first base. And the total number of home runs in baseball for the year, all the home runs put together, I don't remember exactly what it was. It's 2,000 or 3,000 home runs that get hit. But the total number of strikeouts now that the hitters strike out
Yep.
Over 100 times a year is commonplace now. It used to be 100. You were embarrassed. You didn't want to show your face in public. 45,000 strikeouts in Major League Baseball. So if you watch a lot of baseball, basically what you're going to see is strikeouts. You're going to see guys swinging hard that are batting 200, hoping to hit a home run, getting 12, maybe 15 home runs a year in 400 or 500 at-bats. They get 12 home runs, and they strike out 200 times.
Yeah, I think I saw something like that with Aaron Judge, where with how many times he strikes out, and you see trying to hit home run after home run.
Yeah, but he's going to hit 50 home runs.
Yeah.
50. Now, if every guy could hit 50 home runs, this would be a good strategy. Like, you'd want all the players to do this if they could hit 50 home runs. So I have one more question for you before I have to go.
All right.
What do you think of Shohei Ohtani?
I think the guy is pretty incredible. I mean, he's pretty amazing to watch. You just can't do enough of him. It's kind of interesting with all the debate you hear about him being an MVP candidate and why he shouldn't.
Candidate?
Yeah.
Who else would be the MVP candidate?
Well, right now it's Francisco Lindor from the New York Mets.
Sure.
Me and my brother-in-law, we were talking about this too, and a customer I talked to at work, we were kind of picking each other's brains, and he brought up a good point. It's like there hasn't been a player that got 50-50. Like,
ever.
Yeah, ever. So, now him getting that, it's like no doubt he definitely deserves, MVP. Like, the reason I say the debate, because I don't know if you heard David Ortiz was talking. He was like, well, I was a DH and I never got MVP. And it's like, yeah, but you didn't
never hit 50 home runs and got 50 stolen bases.
Yeah, I know. It's like, yeah, but now that changed, He got Ohtani got 50 home runs, 50 stolen base. So it's like, so, and plus he's a fan favorite. Everybody loves him. I feel like if he doesn't get it this year, a lot of people are going to be mad, and, so just, yeah, he's incredible to watch. I'll never forget one time I came down to Chicago, and you and I stayed up late to watch Ohtani play against the Houston Astros when they were the Angels playing. And I think we had to work the next day, and we went to a game, and we were tired, but, Ohtani just brings, like, so much joy to the game that you want to see him play, regardless how late or where the game's at. I have fun watching him. It's crazy for how much he's going to get paid. Like, I've been talking to some friend, like, after this contract up, if he signed, like, let's say $300 million, he's going to be, like, the first billion-dollar athlete that's still playing on the field. If you think about it, it's like, my goodness. We never had a billion-dollar athlete still played on the field, and Ohtani may be the first one.
Well, coming from Japan, he's up there in the years. This is probably his last contract.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering if it was his last, or, if he had one more. I wouldn't say if it was his last or if he had one more, but,
He might get one more contract, but I think this one takes him through his year 39. I mean, there's guys, Verlander's still playing, right?
Yep.
He's 43. Ohtani, nothing that he would do would surprise me. The guy, when he first came over and he said, I'm going to pitch and play the field, I was like, you're not in Japan anymore. This is the major leagues. You're not going to be able to do that here, buddy. Well, he did it. He did it.
He
Really
did
well.
it, and now he's changing the culture of it. Like there's more players
Yeah,
that want to do it.
They're not going to be able to do it.
Yeah,
It's
I don't know.
It's hard.
I've heard
It's hard
players.
in high school.
Yeah,
You don't see that many players do it in college.
yeah.
So
Yeah. Who knows? But
both things are so hard.
yeah, it's hard. My thing is, I don't know how long he didn't do both positions. I feel like at some point down his career, he's gonna have to pick and choose what one he's gonna want to do more.
Well, Max, I'm sure that you have some other questions for me, but I need to get going. I'm sorry we got a little bit of a late start here.
That's okay.
We'll do what we always do and just talk baseball on the phone. And hopefully we'll get to go to a game next year. I only went to one game all year.
That's okay.
Did you get to go to a professional game?
No, I went to a Raptor game that's like a college summer league. And the reason I went down to Wisconsin Rapids because Mark McGuire's son was playing down there, so I was hoping to get a chance to see him play, but he wasn't playing.
This is the league Rigel played in.
Rigel played in Eclair.
Well, not the team he played for, but the league.
Yeah, the league. Yep. Yeah, so Mark McGuire's son was down there, but he didn't play, so like, okay, well, going home.
All right, Max. Great talking to you. I'm looking forward to your Hall of Fame video. I know it's a lot of work, and I hope to see you soon. I'll get Seth. Seth will definitely, he would enjoy doing this.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on the show, and you take care.
My pleasure. I hope you do well with this 10th Man broadcast.
Thank you.
Okay, good luck, Max. You're the best.
Yeah.